Well, the sun isn't great, and my neighbor's AC might turn on at any moment, but this isn't gonna take so long, so let's just go. Hello nerds, it is Michaela, back again with another video. This is the first video that I am making since my March wrap up because April wasn't great. April was not great for a number of reasons. Mostly I just, I did not have a great mental health month in April. I had a hard time doing things, including reading, which is why this is literally the only book I read this month. I mean, yes, it is a big boy, and it took me way longer than it needed to. I literally started it on the 1st and finished it on the 30th, but I just could not focus, couldn't really think about anything. It was not a great month. So I just didn't feel like reading. I also got Animal Crossing for the Switch, finally. I gave in. I'm now one of those people. So I've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing. And that is what I have been doing instead of having human thoughts. So this video will not be segmented because there are no segments. I am going to be talking very briefly about this one book that I read. I will read for you at the end the comic books that I did read. I did read a good number of comic books. I think it was 9. I'm not entirely sure. I did read comics, but I will just list those like I usually do at the end of my videos. So this should not take too long. So the one book that I read, this is Leaves of Grass, First and Deathbed Editions by Walt Whitman. This is part of the Barnes & Noble Classics collection. I really love Walt Whitman. I first read Whitman my freshman year of college, and I just immediately fell in love with his language and the way this guy just like goes. I am a real big fan of it. I love the way he thinks about life and death and relationships and community and patriotism and all sorts of things. I really enjoy just the way he thinks. I like the way his poems are essentially just like him ruminating out loud. I mean, the absolute queen of self-confidence and self-love. He's just great. But this was actually my first time sitting down and reading any version of Leaves of Grass from beginning to end. I had read, you know, large chunks of Song of Myself, and I had read like other individual poems before, like in an academic setting, but I had really never sat down and read them entirely. Like, this channel is called Song of Myself, which is very obviously a pun on Song of Myself, and yet I hadn't ever sat down and like intentionally, purposefully read Walt Whitman. I'm distracted by a half-naked child running through this parking lot. Sorry. And so I did. Now, I should not have read this month. Like, full stop. I was not in a mental headspace to read this book, to read this poetry. There's a lot of stuff that I just like missed that half-naked child runs again. Where are you going? I was not in the correct headspace. I was not paying attention. I'm sure there are full poems that like I read, but like nothing actually went in my brain, but that is okay. I'm choosing to let that go. There are poems and lines and sections that actually really did stick with me and that I really did like. And there are some that I'm sure I will read again later and they will have a much bigger effect on me than they did this time through. But I was not in the self-love, enthusiastic, I'm a queen headspace that Walt Whitman was in for his entire life. I mean, we knew it was going to happen. We knew that the AC was going to turn on. It is actually like impossible for me to ever sit here and record without someone's AC turning on. That's just the way that it works. I don't really know what to say about this. I mean, I gave it 4 stars. The only reason I didn't give it 5 were there were a good number of poems that like no matter how hard I concentrated, I'm like, my guy, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. He got a little esoteric sometimes. Also, like, part of that 4-star experience was definitely like me and like what I was failing to bring to the table. I do always recommend Whitman though. There's something about his language that speaks to me specifically, and if I were at a different point in my life or even at a different point in my brain chemistry, I could probably articulate those better for you. But right now, all I can say is that when I read pieces of Whitman, I feel very seen and I feel very alive and I feel very connected to like other people and to the world and even to my country. It was actually kind of hard to read Whitman sometimes because this was a guy who had like such high hopes for his nation, and like that makes sense. Like he was alive in the 1800s, like America was still so new, and he felt that newness. He felt like the youth of this country and like felt such a hope and excitement and like genuine assuredness that we were going to go on to do great things and that we were going to learn how to treat each other better. It's so hard to sit here in 2021 and know that like so many of the dreams and promises that he felt for America like have not come true. But it kind of almost makes it more admirable that like he understood the flaws and like really just truly believed that we could be better, and that all it took was really just like kindness and empathy. And he's not wrong. We just won't do it. So this was sometimes hard to read. It was sometimes hard to like just take in his optimism and not want to strangle this old man, this old very dead man. But yes, I do love Walt Whitman. He's probably my favorite poet, just in terms of language. For me, like the language and musicality of poetry is always going to be like a really big piece of it for me, more necessarily even than what's being said. And I just really do love the musicality of his poetry. So yeah, like I said, 4 stars. This is all I read in April. And yeah, so briefly to discuss the comics that I read, very segmented comics experience. So I started out with Alias Ultimate Collection Volumes 1 and 2 and Daredevil Ultimate Collection Volume 2, all of which I gave 5 stars. And then X-Force Volumes 1 and 2, X-Statix Volumes 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then X-Men The Search for Cyclops, all of which I gave 2 stars. Did not really enjoy those. I don't love the mutant stories in the comics. Like, sorry? Like, I understand. Oh, very brief AC moment. I understand what, like, they're trying to accomplish, but, like, so far, anything I've read that's, like, been, like, really mutant focused, I just, like, haven't loved. I don't think that they're very good. Now, maybe the comic book guide that I am reading is not giving me the right stuff, and like hopefully there will be more in the future, but I am having a lot more fun reading sort of more Avengers style stories or like individual character narratives like Alias and Daredevil, which, you know, follow Jessica Jones and Matt Murdock respectively. All right, so this has been very brief. I have not even been recording for 10 minutes. I guess all I have to say is sorry for disappearing. I don't know what May is going to look like because on May 10th I am being forced to go back to work in the office, which is not good for me. That has been a large part of my April, has been the absolute like blind panic of having to go back into the office and searching for another job that will not require me to go back into the office. That's been a lot of what I've been doing because I'm not interested, but I, you know, am not going to find a new job before May 10th. So I am going to have to be going back to the office. However, I do think that I'll actually be reading more because let's be real, when I am at home, YouTube is right there in a way that it's much easier for me to get away with reading at my desk than it is for me to get away with watching YouTube at my desk in the office. So I will probably actually be reading more, which says a lot about me as a person. Hopefully I'll have more than just this one book. Hopefully, my life will stop crumbling around me. All right, I'm done. It's been so long since I recorded, like I generally don't know what I do at the end. That is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one, whenever that is. Okay, bye.